Hey everyone, this is Andrew. I'm back for chapter 4 of my book, Beyond Recovery, sharing this information from my personal experience and some information I think will be helpful to people going through recovery or afterwards. And to be honest, I'm not really feeling it today. I don't really feel like doing this, but it's my assignment, and so I'm going to continue anyway. So hopefully I'll find some encouragement in today's reading. Chapter 4 of Beyond Recovery by Andrew Yerko. It's a good idea to do some exercises that allow you to identify negative, destructive, and toxic thought patterns. Okay. Identifying them will help you begin to replace them with good, constructive, nourishing thought patterns. I listed them out on a sheet of paper just like this so I could see them next to each other. A, bad things I say to myself. B, good things I want to say. A, I'm not very good at learning new things. B, I learn things quickly, and that helps me eagerly try new things. A, I am not attractive. B, I am handsome. I am beautiful and made in a unique, amazing way. A, I'm poor. I never have enough money. B, I'm prosperous and abundant. I always have more than enough money. We are often quick to criticize and condemn ourselves. We should actively be quick to praise and encourage ourselves as well. Instead of focusing on what we believe to be our shortcomings and character defects, we should focus on our qualities, gifts, and potential. The old thought patterns will starve and disappear, though. You starve them out. If you are in recovery or considering it, there's a good chance you have become a master at blame and shame, or both. You may find yourself using guilt, shame, and condemnation to try to manipulate everyone and every situation in your life, including yourself. It's very interesting and very important to replace habits of guilt, shame, condemnation with habits of love, support, and encouragement. Replace your thoughts first, then your motives, then your attitude, then your habits, then your life. My life sure changed. It took on an entirely different form. My life became prosperous and joyful. It was uncomfortable at first. Prosperity, joy, was uncomfortable at first. Growth is often uncomfortable at first. It became easier later as I had less resistance and more allowing. Harmonious growth then became a new part of my new identity. The old way would echo from time to time. I would make a slip in my thought pattern or go back to an old habit. The old thoughts were like a video game I had become tired of playing it for too long. It was old news. I was very disciplined in my new study, prayer, and meditation and mentorship. This helped me to identify uncomfortable awkwardness as growth and almost a certain sign of change. A real change that would create a new way of life. It is true that the addiction and alcohol abuse were awkward and uncomfortable at first. If I think back, it's true. It was weird to me at first. I took this as encouragement and the indication that soon enough I'd be comfortable living in my blessed, successful life. I had wandered into my addiction, but I used the same mental processing and programs to choose a different way of purpose. A different way on purpose. Knowing the law of opposition, see Raymond Hollywell's Working with the Law of Opposition, has come in handy so many times, and especially during reconstruction of my mental faculties and programs, like the exercise in this chapter should encourage you to do. Identify some negative things you're quick to tell yourself. Then manually override them by telling yourself the exact opposite, even if you don't believe it. I assure you, it is the truth, or has the potential to become the truth. I also applied the law of opposition to decision making. It was extremely helpful, providing an alternative perspective. You see, I realized I had been making most of my decisions out of fear, doubt, and worry. And I'm a Christian, and I believe in God to be pretty much the opposite of these motives. So if I'm made in the image of the Creator, and the Creator is the opposite of these things, maybe I should try the opposite of these motives to make decisions. This should maximize my growth and draw me closer and closer to the Creator and universal good. When in a position that requires me to make a decision, I would catch my old thought pattern before it could load and manually override it, consulting my new motives and checkpoints for good decision making. Am I being or displaying courage, boldness, kindness, faith, love, gratitude? Add to or make your own list according to who you would like to be. Example, the church band asked me if I would play piano. I quickly replied, not well enough to play live. The truth is, I knew very little about piano. I had always had a desire to play. I had done some tiny studio parts on my own albums in the past. I had never played piano in public before them. I had turned them down. I went back to the decision and I recalculated and said to myself, that's not courage or faith or growth. The decision didn't check out. Lucky for me, they asked me again, and I was able to accept. Over a year later, I can play piano very well. I have developed some wonderful relationships with new people. I was given a piano that sits in my living room. I have been useful to my own church and made a habit of worship. I learned about music. I was given other opportunities to be helpful, sharing my talents and gifts. I have received so much joy and happiness from being a part of my wonderful Embrace Band, the Embrace Band in New Albany. Yeah. Bless you all. I gained more self-confidence as a musician and a spiritual being simultaneously. What a wonderful experience. What happened here was I made a decision out of the opposite of fear, doubt, and worry. I didn't really know what courage and boldness were. However, I had identified my motives for saying no as fear, doubt, and worry. So the answer had to be yes. Then a cascade of wonderful beauty and joy for all parties involved was the result of one tiny little decision. I almost let fear decide for me. I almost missed out on a wonderful harmonious gift and a much needed drop in the bucket of achieving my potential. Example 2. When we were just starting our family, we would have car trouble from time to time. We had an older car that burned oil and leaked other fluids. I also had to stop every other day and put air in the front right tire. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. The air conditioning didn't work, and there was a tiny hole in the radiator hose. The car was uninsured for quite some time. This was our vehicle for the first few years. Now that I've thoroughly told on myself, I had many decisions to make because of the status of my own vehicle. One in particular was to drive and visit my wife's grandparents or not. Her grandparents had been like her parents growing up. They had also been a huge blessing to me and my children. Normally, the fear of what if the truck breaks down, what if I get pulled over, what if we don't have enough gas, would have kept me from going and taking her to see her grandfather. I thought about my father and how I let many things that seemed more important convince me that I shouldn't go. The fear of feeling sad from seeing him in poor health often kept me from going as well. fear of seeing him in the state he was in. So I didn't go see my dad. I then used my mental faculty of reasoning to deduce that from my perspective, there was nothing more important than her going to visit him. A woman and grandchildren getting to visit with their father and grandparents should, in fact, be at the very top of anybody's priority list. I expected these trips to be supernaturally blessed because of their nature. I would praise God and thank Him for safe travel and do the things I knew to do with the oil and the air and the tires and then hit the road. God provided me safe travel until He provided us with a better car. I most certainly had to put oil in, put antifreeze in, get cold drinks for the ride, gather quarters for gas money. I did all that. I decided loving my wife, children, and grandparents and my in-laws. I decided loving my wife, my children, and my grandparent in-laws was much more important and valuable than any fear or task or consequence I could face. I decided that encouraging and supporting them to spend time together was good and right and something I believe God would approve of and be proud of. This helped me become more aware that I should make decisions using the opposite of doubt, worry, and fear. When I'm on my deathbed, I will be glad to say I gave a little extra effort to make sure my wife and boys got to go see Frank and Lucy. I'd be sad to say I saved a few bucks and didn't risk it in the Nissan. Wow, okay. Yeah, well, I needed to hear this today. So that's the end of chapter 4. That leads us to chapter 5. Wow. All right, well, I'm Andrew. I'll be back tomorrow, whether I want to or not, to read chapter 5 of this book. Thanks. Have a good one.